Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and evolving. I also acknowledge elders from other communities who may be present today. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the traditional owners of Woman Community Council who gave me permission to use Jarag. Jarag is the Gidja word for speak, the what and why of the opportunity I am proposing. Jarag offers a culturally realistic and sensitive approach to creating remote, not-for-profit Aboriginal corporation community strategies that meet and communicate their strategic goals, is well structured and supported, clearly articulates and challenges points of view and messages and showcases significant successes intended to support and attract funding opportunities to ensure longevity. Jarag ensures continuity and meaningful success through informed and supported communication platforms on which the needs, successes and expectations of Aboriginal corporations are messaged. So how can I be so sure that my proposition will make the social difference necessary to drive long-term socio-economic change for remote Aboriginal Australians? Well, for the last 10 years I have worked in remote East Kimberley. Based in Kununurra, my time was spent working for and or with not-for-profit Aboriginal corporations and Aboriginal people and communities across the region. The work I performed enlightened me to not only the differences between remote Aboriginal Australians and their counterparts in the city, but in particular to the significant human and financial resource gaps that exist between remote not-for-profit Aboriginal corporations and those based in the city. Wearing many hats and flexing between roles outside of my job description and experience, I found that a large percentage of Aboriginal corporations had no communication strategy of particular importance in an environment where corporate and government funding opportunities are becoming more competitive and harder to source. Looking at the graph on the left side of the slide in front of you, you will see that capital expenditure fluctuates more than recurrent expenditure. This is due to the project-based nature of recurrent expenditure, the bread and butter of not-for-profits. Regardless, government funding is decreasing significantly. Comprising approximately 3% of Australia's population, Aboriginal Australians, despite 2007 COAG targets, continue to experience high levels of disadvantage compared to non-Aboriginal Australians. With the Aboriginal population projected to increase annually between 1.9% and 2.2% by the year 2031, the pressure on, and in particular remote Aboriginal corporations, to secure funding will become increasingly competitive. This is made even more real with the government being accused of abandoning its COAG strategy because of funding cuts. I believe that what I am proposing is viable and meets a real market demand, as a powerful communication strategy will enable remote Aboriginal corporations to engage, build relationships and attract funding, to stand above the rest as an industry leader. As noted, there are multiple design thinking process models available that determine the what, who, where, when and why steps in the design process. For my purpose, I have chosen to step through the seven-step ETAPI design thinking process model. The seven-stepped goals married with the lean canvas tool enabled me to draw out Jarag's road plan. Whilst having lived and worked on remote Aboriginal corporations in the East Kimberley, where I developed a broad knowledge, understanding and empathy of and for Aboriginal people, their traditional and contemporary cultures and the issues and challenges facing them in society today, the Empathy Map Canvas tool, seen here on slide 4, enabled me to visualise and conceptualise Jarag's customer focus. A social enterprise, Jarag's design thinking perspective steals away from the commercial problem-solving approach of corporate enterprise by de-emphasising personal and organisational profiteering goals. Instead, Jarag's business model incorporates human-centred problem-solving approach that places emphasis on the social value of those using its solution. Whilst not suggesting that Jarag is the solution to the Aboriginal problem, it does, however, offer a different approach to the traditional reform efforts where services are provided to Aboriginal corporations and people, essentially telling them what they need. Instead, Jarag proposes a partnership model whereby government, corporate and philanthropic organisations work with Aboriginal corporations and people to create real and meaningful social change. Using the customer journey mapping tool, as seen here on slide 5, I was able to determine that accessing funding for programs and innovative solutions is imperative for Aboriginal corporations to create longevity and strong and lasting partnerships within their community, the business sector and all levels of government. Jarag's informed and supported communication strategy that spans across strategic priorities of Aboriginal corporations will be the platform from where social change will start. Jarag is generating a solution it is well aware is only one forward movement in the marathon towards solving the Aboriginal problem. Understanding this, Jarag's abductive logic thinking pattern has been behind its approach to conceptualising, designing and seeking meaningful, real-time feedback and then redesigning. Jarag draws on deductive and historical logic and research and then observes, tests, retests, so as to recognise and respond to changes in the demographic. Doing so ensures that Jarag's social value solution stays relevant, meaningful, and empathetically addresses intricable human concerns. Before making any presumptions about its prospective solution, however, Jarag sought constructive feedback from Aboriginal corporations, potential partners, and those who will directly interact with its solution. As well, Jarag reached out to and sought feedback from potential influencers, such as online advocates, Aboriginal corporations, key figures in the Aboriginal problem sphere, traditional owners, elders, community councils, and local businesses, who could potentially impact the positioning of Jarag's marketing strategy. By asking for feedback and hosting focus group sessions where people across varying demographics came together to review Jarag's solution, Jarag was able to gather real-time strengths and weaknesses feedback that refocused components of Jarag's direction. Jarag is a partnership model and believes that it is the initial partnerships such as MakeItHappen.com, a Sydney-based PR company looking to break into the not-for-profit realm, that will provide the capacity, skills and advice necessary for a non-user position. In total, Jarag put considerable time and effort into getting first impression glimpses into the mind of its prospective customer. This and partnering with an onboard PR company has enhanced and strengthened Jarag's solution. The knowledge gained and expertise utilised through these processes have served to polish Jarag's marketing strategy. Jarag viewed all feedback as a positive, as it was extremely helpful towards understanding the different needs and expectations of each demographic. What was highlighting for Jarag in particular were the presumptive assumptions it made when developing its solution. Being non-Aboriginal, it was ignorant to believe that living and working for and or with not-for-profit Aboriginal corporations and Aboriginal people for 10 years, and believing that it had a broad knowledge, understanding and empathy for Aboriginal people, their traditional and contemporary cultures, and the issues and challenges are facing them in society today, that Jarag's communication would be the stepping stone saviour. Each piece of feedback was firstly categorised by demographic. Example, Aboriginal corporations, government, other service providers, and businesses in the region. Subcategories such as negative, positive, financial, and suggestive feedback were then made. What was found was that despite the offering differing directions and perspectives each demographic came from, there was a strong consensus of the challenges ahead if social change was to occur. It was down to JOAG as the driver of its change strategy to pollinate the in common and revisit the perspectives that were solely specific to the provider. This often lent itself to brainstorming sessions facilitated by JOAG so as to shift out of the superfluous expectations at this early stage as being not necessary. This being said, that doesn't mean that post the prototype, this data will not be significant value adders, as you can see by the current slide. Slide 10 showcased a prototype designed by JOAG to showcase its innovative design capacity, in particular as it relates to Aboriginal corporations and their messaging. Simplistic in its current form, JOAG believes that this homepage skeleton is sufficient to capture the attention of early adopters. JOAG's intention is to present the prototype to Aboriginal corporations who have demonstrated an interest and seek their feedback. How many times JOAG revisits the drawing board will depend on our capacity to actively hear and translate that into design. This agile development approach marries well with JOAG's customer-centred focus. It is imperative that our customer is impressed with our product quickly and that we are able to, and are seen to, flex to our customers' requirements at any stage during the development process of the website, the platform of the communication strategy. Like any other early-stage social enterprise, JOAG has worked hard to improve its chances of success. Derived from the business model canvas and the social lean canvas, the lean marketing model was used by JOAG to test its value proposition by means of a frequentative analysis of the needs of its customers, Aboriginal corporations. By starting with identified challenges faced by Aboriginal corporations and working backwards, JOAG was able to commence building its sales and marketing strategies. In partnership with Aboriginal corporations, JOAG is well positioned to investigate markets through co-creation, communities, customisation and choice strategies. Ultimately, as a social enterprise, JOAG takes a customer-centred approach to its marketing strategy, whereby Aboriginal corporations actively participate in and play a pivotal role in co-creating and testing product and their overall desired experience. JOAG's hypothesis-based and experimental lean marketing canvas draws attention to specifying how its marketing strategy justifies customer value creation. Ultimately, the 9 sections of JOAG's one-page lean marketing canvas, when looked at as a whole, identified and qualified JOAG's lean marketing drivers and priorities. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions at your will.